पिछले दो डिस्कोर्सेस के अंदर टू गेन वन सोल इन पेशेंस एंड टू प्रिजर्व वन सोल इन पेशेंस, कीर्केगार्ड पेशेंस की बात करता है एज इफ इट वर फर्स्ट एन एक्सटर्नल थिंग एंड देन ही टॉक्स अबाउट पेशेंस एज इफ इट वर एन इंटरनल थिंग. इस डिस्कोर्स में पेशेंस एंड इन एक्सपेक्टेंसी के अंदर कीर्केगार्ड brings out a real person just as he did in either or, just as he did in Fear and Trembling where he gave that example of Prophet Abraham, just as he did in Repetition where it was the young man in Constantine Constantius. In this discourse he brings out Anna the prophetess, और उनकी लाइफ स्टोरी के ऊपर ये रिवॉल्व करता है डिस्कोर्स. He mentions the story of Anna in the gospel and how she held on to hope after her husband passed away. वो कहता है 18 centuries and more have passed. She does not need our help now any more than she needed it then. We shall not hinder her in following the inclination of her heart. We shall not be in a hurry to attire her in the victorious armor of despair, or in the mourning weeds of slow deterioration. After all, she is the object of our contemplation, and there are things in life into which we should not seek to poetize our thoughts, but from which we ourselves should learn. There are things in life over which we should not weep, but from which we should learn to weep over ourselves. यहाँ पे कीर्केगार्ड बात कर रहा है about the kind of patience and the kind of expectancy that Anna the prophetess had, and her love for her late husband and how it differed from love for the living. वो कहता है she remained faithful to the departed one, and she considered herself well taken care of, as she was indeed, since there is nothing that so forms and nobles and sanctifies a person as the memory of one who is dead, hidden in a sincere heart. There is nothing that next to God himself so uncompromisingly tests and searches a person's innermost being as does a commemoration of one who is dead, preserved in an always present memory. There is nothing that maintains a person's soul in this kind of persevering and faithful endurance as does the thought of one who is dead, which never slumbers. The living can sometimes be taken by surprise by some frailty or can prompt someone else to be over hasty, but one who is dead is never over hasty. The living can at times make a mistake or influence someone else to make one, but one who is dead is made not of flesh and blood, but of the holiest and best thoughts of a thankful memory, which are never in error, since they are purified in the anxiety of losing the one who has gone to glory. The living are quick to appreciate our love, quick to repay in fuller measure and sooner than perhaps was deserved. But the longer the hour of reward is postponed, the more beautiful it is for the one who desires it early and late. Only the day laborer demands to be paid every day. Only faithful love serves 7 years and 7 more for the reward. But the person who loves one who is dead serves his entire life for his love. कीर्केगार्ड यहाँ पे बात कर रहा है about how different it is to love the living versus to love the dead. And he talks about how Anna held on to her expectancy, how she held on to her patience, and whether or not she could be disappointed in her expectancy, or if the fulfillment came too late. यहाँ पे वो पूछता है और कहता है, can Anna be disappointed in her expectancy? Can the fulfillment come too late? Certainly the fulfillment can come too late for the expectant one. If a person expected the temporal and the vainglorious, then the fulfillment can disappoint not merely by failing to come but also by coming when it is too late. What good would it be if it was power and dominion that the powerless one craved, if they were offered to him at the moment when nature orders him to relinquish them? What good would it be if it was pleasure and enjoyment that his soul desired, and the goblet of intoxication was handed to the invalid, whom every moment reminds that life passes away and the lust of it? What good would it be if, to a person who now could clasp only with shaking hands, all the world's gold was given, something he had thirsted for because in his hands it was supposed to be a key to everything? What good would it be, or would it not be like mockery of him, and would it not be most disgusting of all if he did not understand the judging seriousness of the fulfillment, that he still had not renounced the world and had learned nothing over the years? But the fulfillment tempted him, tempted the old man to become a contemptible fool. But you, my listener, you have not placed your expectancy in that which is deceitful, even when it comes. Your expectancies are not disappointed. You are expecting the resurrection of the dead, of both the righteous and the unrighteous. You are expecting a blessed reunion with those whom death took away from you, and with those whom life separated from you. You are expecting that your life will become transparent and clear to you, your state in blessed understanding with your God and with yourself, undisturbed by the passion that, troubled, seeks to guess the riddles of providential dispensation. But of course, this expectancy is not disappointed, because the time of its fulfillment has not yet arrived. And when the fulfillment does come, it is never mocking, never deceitful, because the good never mocks a human being. If it fails to come, then this is the best for him, and if it comes with all its eternal blessedness. How could this come too late? Then it would itself have to be temporal. Therefore, only impatience knows fear, but patience, like love, drives out fear. In relation to the temporal and the vainglorious, impatience, in a certain defective sense, may be true and grounded in the frailty of that which is the object of expectancy. In relation to the eternal, it is just as beautiful as it is certain that impatience is always untrue. फिर वो पूछता है, who is it then who judges whether a person is patient? Is it time? Not at all, or only in a certain sense, because someone may be patient and have been patient and still did not see his expectancy fulfilled. In the profoundest sense, it is the expectancy itself, its essence, that determines whether a person is patient. The person whose expectancy is truly expectancy is patient by virtue of it in such a way that, upon becoming aware of his impatience, he must not only judge himself but also test his expectancy to see whether this explains impatience and to what extent it would be wrong to remain patient. If that was possible, he ought to give up the expectancy. Only the true expectancy, which requires patience, also teaches patience. But true expectancy is such that it pertains to a person essentially and does not leave it up to his own power to bring about the fulfillment. Therefore, every truly expectant person is in a relationship with God. फिर किरकेगार्ड कहता है कि जब भी ये एक्सपेक्टेंट पर्सन डाउट करेगा या वो एक्सपेक्ट करेगा कि मुझे शायद विक्ट्री ना मिले या फिर शायद फुलफिलमेंट ना आए मुझे, then he does not have faith. He says that Anna had a choice, the same choice that everyone has, but she used it. He says, her choice is made. It did not happen yesterday or the day before yesterday, so that we should be ready with our assistance to get it changed. Her choice is made, and if she has regretted it, the time of regret has been long. She chose to remain faithful to her late husband as he had been faithful to her, or to say it another and more truthful way, even though it might not seem as beautiful to her, she chose to remain true to herself. After all, every external bond was dissolved, and only that love bound her in which she had her freedom, and without which she would not have known herself again. In this fidelity, her life became very poor in variety, which some people achieved to the point of repulsiveness, but her life became fruitful for the eternal. And whatever you may think of this, my listener, it is certainly up to each individual to decide on his own, so that according to circumstances, one choice may be just as commendable in its fervent love as another. But this much is certain, that the woman who is busy consoling herself over the loss of her late husband is hardly God's choice to appear as a witness of expectancy in the hour when the expectancy of the human race has its fulfillment.